apparently no one else is going to tell you things like this because people aren't cooking with fire. I want you to think about the numerous social media platforms. They're all social engineering platforms, and make no mistake, they're also extensions of the MK Ultra sub-projects, despite what most people will probably assume and or how you'll react, based on popular reactions. So what I want you to do is, they don't all necessarily fit together like a beautiful puzzle, a mosaic that looks like fucking Princess Peach from the fucking Mario games, or something else that superficial people would need to appreciate what I'm saying. But as a whole, think about what Facebook does. Think about what you do on Facebook. Think about how that's connected to Instagram and why those two are connected. Think about Twitter and the format and how you interact with it. Each one of these combined, you and I are training the AI. Think about it for a second. We're building you could think of it as a complex algorithm that describes how humans interact with one another, as well as how we utilize problem-solving skills online, which is part of the reason why the numerous formats of these, social engineering platforms, retards call social media, change, so that you have to find where you got to go to click on. You got to click on some bullshit button to get another menu to pop up that used to be fucking obvious. This is how shit works. But again, most people aren't cooking with fire. Most people don't see what's going on because most people aren't paying attention. What the fuck do I know? It probably hasn't dawned on most of you. You don't understand what the DARPA internet is becoming, what it's being shaped as. Some of you might have heard me complain about the truth community. What you and I consider the internet today is exclusively becoming a giant fucking circle jerk. Pointless fucking noise. A place where you can't find information, where people can't speak their mind, where you can't challenge what's spoon-fed to you as the official narrative. In other words, propaganda. You can't speak against it. And the list goes on. And people don't care. They don't see this as an issue. And that's the most terrifying aspect of all of this. But then again, what the fuck do I know? I've seen people making rounds online, babbling about this jazz. And as this says, and this is Quora, this is crap. But it does discuss what's at hand, what I'm driving at. It's all, this entire system you and I are part of is a consent-based system. This is something you could use as an analogy when you jump online and you participate in the bullshit. And if you read this, it aligns with what I'm driving at. If you think of unconstitutional taxation, which was established I'm saying the wrong numbers or the wrong letters, or fuck me running. You can tell I haven't eaten today. The wrong year, 1913, is when the Federal Reserve was established under the pretense of being both voluntary and temporary. That's the canned response. I'm trying to shit out of my mouth, but it didn't work so well. It's one of many examples. You and I, or at least our ancestors, consented to that. They didn't rise up and put an end to it, so it still fucking exists. It's not. It clashes with natural law. It clashes with basic logic, technically speaking. It goes against anything and everything that should be, especially if you and I were free people. And that's just another example. For all intents and purposes. Despite the fact that I had to rattle off letters and numbers and a bunch of other crap to try to find out, what's in my brain? What am I trying to communicate to you? That was rough, you guys. Too many fucking thoughts. This type of thing gets me worked up, but I have also consented. I have a lot of fucking images online that I've uploaded to originally MySpace and Facebook, and eventually I caved in and went to Instagram, I think around the same time frame or just prior to. I think I set up a Twitter account. Then I started, there were other things I was plotting at the time, and this is prior to me doing what I've been doing in some ways. I was geared towards other stuff. I was trying to shop around art, and I was trying to meet new people. I was trying to change my life at the time. So I was like, all right, social media, people are out there, supposedly we're connected, blah, 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 blah. And I set up a number of accounts. I remember going through LinkedIn in terms of work-related contacts, so to speak. And I sat there and I made a point to do this day after day, just friending people supposedly on there to meet different people of all walks of life having to do with different jobs. And I did. I met a bunch of fucking different people. During the same time frame, I made friends with modern day porn stars just to meet new people. So for a while, I was texting some of the, latest and greatest porn stars, and we were just chumming it up about stupid shit. We weren't doing things that were sexual, but it cracked me up. Just weird shit. I just thought I'd change things up. And this is back when there was a little bit of traction on the fucking internet. Not much. Shortly after setting up some of these accounts, this is when I had one day where I set up what I call the art page on my Facebook, and I think maybe 3,000 people roughly saw one post. And keep in mind, that post was later flagged and removed from the internet. Just so you know. And I think what it was a bunch of people dyed their pubic hair. All you could see was hair, and you could see a little bit below their navel. But it was flagged and it was removed from the internet. Now, if you look around, you look what's on fucking Instagram today, LifeLog 2.0. I mean, I see camel toes and a bunch of other crap everywhere I fucking go. Areolas galore. But that was flagged. It's just insane. It's just insane. Plus, I am censored in ways that other people aren't. That might sound... some people would probably say paranoid and or outlandish. But if you go through the numerous things that I've cataloged, because I've documented this, there's proof. And you would know this if you took the time to do that. You can go to some of the highlights on the Instagram pages that I moderate. And then again, some of them are private now. But if you guys are in there, and or if you do some of the things I've asked people to do, you would have access to that, and you would have proof of that as well. I know I'm rambling a bit. A little bit. Like I said, I haven't eaten. This isn't how things should be. This is how things are. Most people aren't concerned with changing any of this because they don't understand. While I was waiting for the bus, I was complaining about how the internet is now just one giant circle jerk. Another way to parallel that with the social media apps, the social engineering applications, is I complain about Snapchat in particular. It is exclusively a circle jerk for stupid people. You cannot leave anything on Snapchat that means something. It is devoid of meaning. Absolutely devoid of any and all meaning. You get superficial shit, you get sexualized crap, that's it. It's all debased bullshit. It goes nowhere, means nothing, and is fuck all. Snapchat is garbage. And that's what the internet will eventually be. If I'm not mistaken. You won't be able to say anything. You won't be able to do anything. Nothing important. Nothing relevant. Nothing thought-provoking. Nothing beautiful. Essentially, nothing rooted in humanity. And or, it lends itself to this. I'm trying to think of how to put it. What would benefit you and I and would by all rights be harmonious. Would by all rights speak to the inner nature of what we are, who we are, and I know this sounds fucking flowery, and I'm standing on a fucking soapbox at the moment, but things that fucking matter. None of that. You won't be able to find any of that on the fucking internet, if I'm not mistaken, down the line. All of it will be scraped off the fucking surface, or maybe I shouldn't say the surface. It will, because that's where you're going to find all the garbage. I can't think of another way to put it right now because I'm less than eloquent, obviously. Just the same, it's going to be filtered out. It's going to be gutted. It's going to be rooted out, removed, omitted, all those other words. And all you're going to see is shit like Snapchat. Garbage. In place to quite literally erode your moral compass, make you buy into what most people repeat, which is in line with and reaffirms exactly how our masters expect you to conduct yourself. And anybody outside of the internet who acts a different way, says something counter to all of these beliefs, these modes of thinking, these modern day mores and folkways, will in fact be ostracized. They'll be dejected. They'll be cast out. because they're not acting like everybody else. They're not saying what everybody else says. They don't repeat the official script that most people are, quite literally regurgitating. This is where we're going with things, and it's fucking obvious if you're paying attention, but people aren't. If you're calling things canceling, if you're talking about shadow banning, if you've ever said positive vibes only, you are catering to censorship campaigns, which are just an aspect of all of the shit that I've rattled off in this fucking video. If you sat through it, if you listened to the words that came out of my mouth, and you thought about them, you didn't just type a comment in here. Whatever, bro. Or something equally fucking retarded. If you sat with what I said, if you thought about what I said, if you took a moment and you just looked at the different formats on all of these fucking social media pages, you considered the information, the media, what people call content, because they were trained to repeat that too, that you and I have both collectively left on the internet. Consciously, consensually, we chose to do that because we were herded and trained to do that. If some of you are, I'm 43 right now. So if some of you are older than me and or my age or a little bit younger than me, you might remember some of these time frames, and you might remember some of the mindsets that people had in terms of being skeptical of shit like this, the internet as it were, leaving private information in plain sight. If you think about it, we are using the DARPA internet, which means somebody else, not your immediate family, not you or I, have access to all of these things at any time. At any fucking time. So anything you've ever left online that might be remotely in line with something you could be blackmailed for, something you might feel a little shameful about. Porn history. That's something people talk about. Oh, before I die, erase my, my browser history. Things like that. Other people do have access to this for a reason. Because this isn't for the people by the people. There's nothing in place to protect you and I. Nothing whatsoever. The way I've rattled this off before, keep in mind, you and I have no rights anymore, anyhow. America became a corporation in, 1871. We became debt slaves in 1913, and the list goes on. That's here in the States, but it's connected to the other aspects of the trilateral city-states. But we have no rights. The point to this is we never put anything into writing to protect us in a digital format, which is absolutely fucking ridiculous. But we never have, and people are still not concerned with doing that. Instead, they're just falling into line, walking in lockstep, and making things even worse than before, which reminds me of the Patriot Act. Was that too much for you guys? When the Patriot Act shit was being rolled out, under the banner of bullshit, people bought into it. They didn't look into it. They didn't judge it. They didn't run counter to it. They didn't reject it. They just fell in the fucking line, and then it got worse and worse and worse. What do I mean by that? We lost more and more civil liberties. Technically, you and I should be free people. In every form and way. There should be no fucking hindrances whatsoever on you and I. But we keep creating these bullshit jurisdictions, which is the word people love to hear and think in terms of. In other words, a phony third party will start governing an aspect of our lives. You could take something like, you like to go out the door on Saturdays and go, or let me think, Saturdays for Saturday market, and you like to buy apples. But now you can't buy apples because a third party dude showed up in your life and he won't let you buy apples. So you lost that civil liberty. So now you can no longer buy apples in your life. It's one way to put it. It's a horrible analogy. But this is the type of shit that we cater to. And the more people that don't buy apples and they just start repeating, well, you just can't buy apples because that third party guy said you can't buy apples anymore. So we don't buy apples on, Saturdays for Saturday market. We don't do that anymore. That's just something we don't do. And then generations pass. You tell your kids, yeah, you can't buy apples because the third party apple guy says you can't buy apples. So we don't do that. But that's something we used to do. We're not going to fight to get that back. And then their kids, they meet the third party orange guy. You can't buy oranges anymore either. Because this guy says you can't buy oranges. So we just don't do it. in generations past. And then a new fucking, jurisdiction or phony sphere of influence. You can think of it as concentric circles dominating our lives based on narratives of bullshit, official narratives that people repeat, they believe in, and most people abide by. Or you could think of it as nesting squares. Same difference. But at the core of this, we are free, we should be free, and we should be fighting to keep it that way no matter what, at all cost. This is another reason why people are being softened up, dumbed down, and quote-unquote being masculine, especially. If you think of guys and gals, usually dudes would protect women. Typically speaking, if you think of the homestead, the nuclear family, etc., etc., etc. Yeah, there's a lot of tough fucking gals out there. My mom is super fucking tough. But, typically speaking, that's how you think in terms of masculine and feminine. Usually. Now there's a bunch of muscle-bound gals and a bunch of other bullshit. But, typically speaking, that's what it was. And that's how it works. That's what naturally shakes out, typically speaking, in quote-unquote nature. In other words, anything that's unnatural is, typically speaking, unhealthy, and most people haven't picked up on that. But it's under attack for a reason. Because if most people out there have been softened up, and I'm talking about dudes in this case, they're definitely not going to fight for something. They're not going to truly see what's what. And if they're using the internet all goddamn day, they're going to be susceptible to what's being shopped around and normalized on the internet, on the DARPA internet. So if most people are talking about not fighting for something like this, so to speak, or a better way to put it is, say there's a bullshit cause out there, in line with positive vibes only, that says, you don't speak out about things like this, you don't stand up for yourself, you don't fight for stuff like that because that's toxic. Then you start getting the social engineering words, which are in place to keep us in our place, and to bastardize things and attack what you and I should by all rights be doing, and corrupt what once reflected fucking reality. When you think of toxic, I've said this numerous times, do you think guys or gals? Because it's a polarizing agenda. Because there's an attack, and a war, if you will, actively being conducted to soften dudes up, dumb people down, and all this other shit that I'm driving at right now. That's if you can listen to the words that come out of my mouth and think about them. You can take something away from this. Despite the fact that you've been staring at a fucking Quora page this entire time. Most likely if you're watching this. What do I mean by that? Most people need flashy fucking images. They need clowns dancing around, busting light bulbs in their mouth. They need stupid fucking imagery to pop up. Plus, they need a caption on the screen. They need a minimum of one narcissistic reaction video where there's somebody else looking at you right now that isn't me, that didn't record this, has nothing to do with me or anything that has come out of my mouth this entire fucking time, and they're pointing at the screen. Absolutely pointless noise. And most people need that type of a format because that's what they were spoon-fed. That's what's been normalized. That's what people do. That's how they conduct themselves these days. And they were too stupid to think about it. Challenge it. Should I knock out a fucking narcissistic reaction video? Do I look like a fucking, knob doing that, or a fucking muppet, or a retard, or all the other things that I'll rattle off? But how many people have bought into it? Same applies to emojis, which I complain about all the time. They're social engineering stickers. It's just as insulting as a teacher slapping a fucking gold star on you and telling you, good job. And that's what people do with each other these days. In fact, they speak to each other in sentences of emojis. That's how far gone we are. There are numerous languages available to you and I, would you agree? They're fairly complex, to say the very least, would you agree? And they are undeniably and absolutely beautiful, would you agree? So why would you lower yourself and use little yellow faces and thumbs up? Eggplants. Oh, but it's fun. It's so much fun. Hope you guys are enjoying this rant, by the way. Bread and circuses. Our masters got us through convenience and entertainment, and on that note, I will digress, because most of you probably won't see this or sit through it anyway, let alone use the gray matter between your fucking ears and think about what was said in this message and why I took this much time to fucking rant about it.
I envy death. Technology is just another thing to distract you from the real joys of life. Technology will kill you. Run. Run. Run.